Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, bringing you something a little bit different today. Now, today's commentary is nothing to do with the gameplay whatsoever. In fact, I'm not even sure what gameplay I'm going to put over this yet, so please don't focus on the gameplay. I really want you to listen to what I have to say today, because today is going to be a commentary completely and utterly about balancing stealth perks. Now, there's a lot of heat at the moment about Assassin in Modern Warfare 3. You know, there's been so much anger and frustration about how Ghost was in Black Ops. There's a lot of suspicion and hatred, really, about Assassin already before the game's even released and the effect it's going to have on the game. However, I'm going to talk about stealth perks here, starting from COD 4, and I'm going to make you, hopefully, by the end of it, establish a much more balanced and reasoned opinion about what Assassin's going to do in Modern Warfare 3. So let's start right off the bat from Call of Duty 4. Now, Call of Duty 4 is the first Call of Duty with such a developed perk system that we're used to today. Now, right at the beginning, the way it balanced the perks was by having a 3-tiered perk 2 balance system. It had stopping power, it had Juggernaut, and it had the stealth perk. I think it was UAV Jammer, but I'm not too sure what the stealth perk was called at this moment. The way it worked was, if you had stopping power, you killed a bullet faster than you did if you didn't have stopping power. If you had Juggernaut, you could survive one bullet more than you could if you didn't have Juggernaut. And if you had the stealth perk, you could stay hidden all the time, even with the UAV up. And this was a very good way to balance perks, because the stopping power guy would beat the stealth guy in a one-on-one gunfight, because he could kill a bullet faster. However, the stealth guy could stay off the radar, so he could flank the stopping power guy to get him in the side and win a gunfight that way. So those two were balanced. The Juggernaut guy could kill the guy with the stealth perk in a one-on-one gunfight, because, sorry, just clear my throat there, because he could survive one more bullet than the guy with the stealth perk could. So in a one-on-one gunfight, everything being equal, the guy with Juggernaut would win. However, just like with stopping power, the guy with Juggernaut could get flanked by the guy with a stealth perk, making it a lot easier to flank with the stealth perk. So the guy with a stealth perk could be balanced out that way. Now, with stopping power and Juggernaut against each other, it was an even gunfight, because whilst the guy with stopping power could kill a bullet faster, the guy with Juggernaut could survive one more bullet than the guy with stopping power. So it was an even gunfight and would go down to gun skill. Now, this was a very, very good way to balance the three perks, and I think COD 4 is possibly the best COD for balancing out the three major perks, because it gave every single one a distinct advantage over the other perks, but also gave every single one a distinct weakness over the other perks, leading to fairly balanced perks. I mean, you're never going to get it perfect, but this was as close to perfect as you were going to get. Now, World at War followed pretty much the same method, but the major change, the first major change anyway, came in Modern Warfare 2. Now, Modern Warfare 2 got rid of Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut was a perk hated by quickscopers in COD 4 and World at War, because it gave people the ability to survive that sniper rifle bullet from up close. And because quickscopers like everyone to drop before them, they hated Juggernaut. They saw it as a newbie perk. But in my opinion, Juggernaut is fine, because once, like I've said before, it balances out pretty well with all the other perks. But because the snipers were so unhappy with Juggernaut, it got removed from Modern Warfare 2. And this opened up the first problem in the perk balance system. Because before, you had the ability to have the three perks balancing each other, now you only had the stealth perk and stopping power. So what Infinity Ward decided to do was to bring in a third perk, Hardline. Now, in Modern Warfare 2, as we all know, the kill streaks really were very, very powerful. I mean, they were stackable, and the top end kill streaks were fantastic. I mean, you think how good the chopper gunner was in Modern Warfare 2 in comparison to Black Ops. The Black Ops chopper gunner is so easy to shoot down. And it's also a lot harder to get, because you could get a Predator missile in Modern Warfare 2, and that would lead you straight into your Harriers, and that would lead you straight into your chopper gunner, nice and easy. However, in Black Ops, it's a lot harder. You have to get 9 weapon kills. You can't just get 4 weapon kills and then rely on the Predator to do it for you. You've really got to work harder. And this is where the problem starts to come in later. But back to Modern Warfare 2. Because the kill streaks were so much more powerful in Modern Warfare 2 than they had been before, Hardline took Juggernaut's place as that perk balance in the second tier. So this really didn't change too much from COD 4. You could either get the very powerful kill streaks one kill quicker, you could be much more powerful in gunfights than either of them, or you could stay invisible. And like I said before, all of these perks did well to balance each other. I mean, it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect, but the balance was pretty much there. However, the real problem comes in Black Ops. Now, Black Ops removed stopping power. It was the first game to remove stopping power, so that removed one of the core pillars of the perk balance. And by doing that, it really screwed up the balance on the stealth perk. Now, you might be saying, what about Hardline? Hardline was used in Modern Warfare 2 to act as another counterbalance to the stopping power stealth perk, you know, balance that Modern Warfare 2 had. However, in Black Ops, like I've explained, the kill streaks are a lot less powerful. First and foremost, they're a lot trickier to get. You've got to get all of the kills with weapons. You cannot stack your kill streaks in Black Ops. And that means it's a lot more difficult to get those higher kill streaks. Also, a guy that is 0 and 38 can still shoot your kill streaks down with a Strela missile. Everyone gets 2 Strela missiles, so it only takes one person to shoot down your kill streak. In Modern Warfare 2, it took 2 people, sometimes even 3 people to shoot down your AC-130. So it really had to be a team effort. And if you lost your AC-130, you know that that team had really responded to shoot it down. So it was annoying, but you could understand that people really responded. Now, in Black Ops, it's completely the opposite. One guy can shoot you down. The kill streak's a lot less powerful to start with, so it really de-incentivizes people from using Hardline. And this brings me on to other perks to balance Ghost. Ghost in itself isn't a bad perk. If you have a look at all the stealth perks before and since, well, before, let's not say since just yet. If you look at all the stealth perks before Ghost, they are all practically the same in, you know, constitution. They're all just protect you from radar, and then when you get the pro version, protect you from kill streaks or something in that area. So they're not really too bad if properly balanced. However, Ghost does not balance kill streaks at all. What Ghost has is pretty much no competition in the first perk. Like I've said, Hardline has now been neutered. I mean, it has a terrible pro benefit as well. Rerolling care packages is not a very good pro benefit at all. So Ghost has no competition from Hardline. However, it also has no competition from any of the other major perk 1 choices. First and foremost, Sleight of Hand and Steady Aim are perk 2. So the 2 perks that make you better in gunfights are not competing with the stealth perk. So this really changes the core way to balance perks from previous Call of Duties. If you have a look at any previous Call of Duty with perks before that, you could either be stealthy or be better in a gunfight. Black Ops was the first one that gave you the option to be stealthy and be just as good in a gunfight as a previous Call of Duty. And this is a big problem. You know, if a guy's stealthy, he should be slightly worse at killing me than I am if I'm not stealthy, and that should be the way it's balanced, but that was the problem. It wasn't balanced at all. And if you look at the other perk 1 perks that Ghost is up against, their effect can really be replicated through many other perks. If you're looking at, for example, Scavenger, the guy with Ghost can pick Ghost and then have an assault rifle with dual magazines and basically get the effect of Scavenger anyway. Now, Scavenger doesn't replenish claymores in Black Ops as well, so that's another major hole in Scavenger perk. I mean, the Scavenger perk was a very good perk in Modern Warfare 2, but in Black Ops it's been nerfed, so the guy naturally chooses Ghost. Now let's have a look at Flak Jacket. Flak Jacket is a very useful perk for objective hunting. However, it's also very useful if you show up on the radar, because a lot of people just use frag grenades over well-known nade spots to take you down. However, if you have Ghost, you don't appear on the radar, so you can hide, you can use slightly unusual routes a lot easier than you can if you do appear, and this means that Flak Jacket is less useful, because if someone doesn't know where you are, they're a lot less likely to throw a grenade at you. Now, if you look at the other benefit of Flak Jacket, protecting you from claymores, C4s, other sorts of equipment, it's a lot less likely for you to run into a claymore than it was in Modern Warfare 2. Like I've said, Scavenger doesn't replenish claymores anymore, so there's a lot fewer claymores. And also, if you are concerned about equipment, you can run Hacker. Now, Hacker also has the added benefit of showing you roughly where the enemy are, because you get to see their motion sensors, their jammers, their claymores. So Flak Jacket isn't a competition for Ghost either, because you can get the same benefit from just being a little bit clever where you go and by using Hacker, so you're beginning to see a mounting problem here. Ghost has no competition from Scavenger, it has no competition from Flak Jacket, and also Lightweight. Lightweight's main ability is to move slightly faster. Now it can be, you can have pretty much the same effect by having Marathon Pro, because it just gives you the ability to sprint infinitely. So whilst with Lightweight you might be able to sprint faster, you still run out of energy, and when you're recovering that energy, the guy with Marathon Pro can continue to move. So that ability to move quicker is lost through having Marathon. So you can get the same benefit with a perk 3 perk. Another thing Lightweight's supposed to do is enable you to run past claymores. Because you move that slightly bit faster, you can sprint past claymores, enabling you to survive. However, you can get the same benefit by using Hacker, because then you can see the claymore in the first place and take it out without needing to run past it. So you can see that most of the perk 1 perks really don't help to balance Ghost at all, and that is where the problem really gets in, because in all of the other previous Call of Duties you had to really make a choice between staying stealthy or by having another benefit, and Ghost really doesn't have any major competition in the first place, because Hardline has been nerfed. Flak Jacket is not as powerful as Ghost in any means. Scavenger can be achieved with other perks, as can Lightweight, so you're really looking at a problem here. I mean, part of the problem is some of the gameplay mechanic changes that were made as well. Like I've said, the changes to the kill streaks didn't help. The changes to Scavenger not replenishing claymores meant that Ghost was just sitting on a pedestal. All the other perks in that perk 1 slot are very, very nicely balanced, but Ghost is just too far ahead. If you put Slide to Hand or Steady Aim in that first perk slot, you would have made a little bit more difference, because then you had a choice between being stealthy or being better in a gunfight, which is what all of the older Call of Duties did. However, by keeping those in the perk 2 slot, you really left Ghost on a pedestal, and that is where the problem is. It wasn't with Ghost itself, it was with the lack of balance in that first perk slot, and that brings me on nicely to the Modern Warfare 3 perks. Now, Infinity Ward seem to have done a lot to listen to what people have to say about their games. They've responded very, very nicely with Second Chance, with One Man Army Noob Tubes. They've still kept the Panic Knife in, which in my opinion is very annoying, but from what I've heard about people coming out of XP, they're saying the knife lunge is very, very small. It takes quite a long time to swish it, so they're beginning to understand that. And I think what they have done is slowly begun to introduce more competition in the perk 2 slot. Now, I'm looking at the perks here, and if you didn't know, the perks are Quick Draw, Blast Shield, Hardline, Assassin and Overkill. Now, let's talk about Hardline. Infinity Ward always have powerful kill streaks. You know, I've seen some of the kill streaks in gameplay, and a few of them look very, very sweet indeed. I mean, my own favourite is the Little Bird Overwatch kill streak. I mean, I think that's going to be a very, very cool kill streak. So, having Hardline really becomes a viable choice again. However, what makes it an even better choice is that 2 assists with Hardline Pro count towards your kill streak. Now, that is a very, very useful feature indeed, and that immediately opens up competition with Assassin. And in addition to that pro benefit, death streaks also require 1 fewer death. You know, I'm not a big fan of death streaks, but to be honest, if it helps to balance out the stealth perk, I'm all in favour for putting that in. You know, Blast Shield as well. Blast Shield, which is pretty much Flak Jacket from Black Ops, has been given a massive, massive boost, because you start off with increased explosive resistance. However, your pro effect is resistance to flashbangs and stuns, which is the TACMAS Pro benefit. So basically you get Flak Jacket and TACMAS Pro as 1 perk, and that really does increase the heat on Assassin. Another thing, Sleight of Hand, which in Call of Duty has been like renamed Quick Draw. Well, sorry, I'll rephrase that. There is a Sleight of Hand perk, but the faster aiming part of the Sleight of Hand perk from Black Ops is now under Quick Draw in Modern Warfare 3. Now that enables you to be slightly better in a gunfight. So once again, the balance is beginning to be re-established. Yes, you'll be invisible with Assassin, but if you are invisible, you're going to be easier to nade, easier to stun, take longer to get your kill streaks, and be worse in a gunfight, because that guy can whip his iron sights up just that little bit faster. And the pro benefit of Quick Draw is also very, very useful. The ability to recover faster from using grenades and equipment. So if you turn the corner and see an assassin guy, you can very, very quickly ping a flashbang at him and then be ready to mow him down before he even knows what's happening. So the balance is very, very nice. However, before I go on to talk about Assassin, there's another perk to talk about, and that is Overkill. Overkill makes a return in the perk 2 slot. Now, with the removal of shotgun secondaries, this might encourage a lot more people to use Overkill. Now, if you use Overkill, you have the ability to carry 2 primary weapons. So a guy can carry a sniper rifle and then carry an SMG or a shotgun to give him that close range support. And because stopping power is not in the game anymore, it means both of his weapons will be just as powerful as everyone else's. So that is a really, really good perk. And that means Assassin, as it's termed in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, really does have a lot more competition than it does in Black Ops. And this is fantastic. However, there are a few things I have to say. If you compare Ghost to Assassin without looking at any other perks in relation to it, Assassin is much, much more powerful. This is just the effects of its standard version. You are immune to radar, you are immune to portable radar, you are immune to the thermal sight, and you are immune to the heartbeat sensor. Now, a lot of these benefits were pro benefits in Modern Warfare 2. I think the thermal one definitely is, and I think the heartbeat sensor one was a different perk. I'm not too sure on that one, but either way, the standard Assassin perk is by far and away more powerful than the standard Ghost perk, and this is where I begin to get a little bit worried. You know, but the pro benefits are even better. You get immunity to counter UAV, you get an EMP immunity, you get no red crosshair when you get aimed at, and there's no name over you when you get aimed at, and this I think is very, very annoying. Counter UAV is always a good way to deal with a stealth perk, because if you completely black out their radar, they lose a major advantage of being a little bit more map savvy than the people who are just better in the gunfights with their stopping power perk or whatever. So giving them immunity from counter UAV is a little bit dodgy in my opinion. But like I've been saying, the balance and the competition in that second perk slot really is a lot better than it was in the first perk slot of Black Ops. But if I was a game developer, and I'm not, I have no affiliation to any game developing company at all, what I would do is slightly tone down Assassin. I would remove that immunity to counter UAV, and I would put that immunity to heartbeat sensors in the pro benefit to replace it. I'd possibly think of getting rid of the red crosshair. I think getting rid of the red name's quite a good idea, but I think getting rid of that red crosshair when you aim at someone is a pretty good way to discover people who are stealthy. It works very nicely in Killzone, for example, because people on the other team who are stealthy appear like they're on your team, so they'll have your camo on. However, if you aim at them, the aim assist begins to tug slightly at them, and they move slightly differently to your teammate, and their cover flickers, so you can tell very, very nicely that he's on the enemy team. And I think that would be a lot better way to balance it. However, there's been a lot of heat about Assassin so far, but I have to say, I think Assassin's balanced a lot much. Whoa! I'll get my words out there. Sorry for that. I think Assassin's a lot better balanced than Ghost was in Black Ops. Sorry. So there's been a lot of heat about Assassin, but I've sat down, I've considered how the balance works in other Call of Duties, and I've looked very, very carefully at Assassin and how that appears to be balanced in Modern Warfare 3, and I have to say I'm a lot more pleased with how it's balanced in Modern Warfare 3 than I was with how Ghost was balanced in Black Ops. I know the game isn't out yet, I know in practice my opinions might not work, but as an outside observer looking now, hearing what I've been hearing from people who have gone to Call of Duty XP and seeing what I'm seeing in the perk list, I'm very, very hopeful that Assassin will not be the reason why people hate Modern Warfare 3. And I know that sounds very pessimistic, but if you look back, pretty much every Call of Duty's had a stumbling block. A lot of people thought Assassin was going to be the stumbling block of Modern Warfare 3, but I am seriously thinking now that Assassin is not going to be that stumbling block at all, and it's really, really looking good for Modern Warfare 3 to be the best balanced Call of Duty so far. Anyway, that'll end my perk balance video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different. I don't normally do stuff like this, but I think it was very, very important to put up a balanced and considered argument, because you've got a lot of people going out of their way hating on Assassin, and I have to say I was one of those to start with. If I had my way, I wouldn't have had a stealth perk in any Call of Duty at any time, but looking at how it's balanced, I have to say the competition is going to be there in that second perk slot. If everything works how I think it's going to work, I can really see Assassin being a viable choice, but not being the be-all and end-all like it was in Black Ops. So I'm really, really looking forward to Modern Warfare 3 now, knowing that I can comfortably rely on not everyone out there using Assassin. Anyway, once again, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this analysis. It's been a long video, but it was something I felt that I had to do. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment and rate as always. Leave a comment suggesting what you think about Assassin and suggesting what you thought about my analysis that I've done here, and I'd be really appreciative if you do that. Anyway guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and have a fantastic day.